Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Cancel here, the host of the Barico BC2 show. It really does help if I actually remember my name. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Welcome to today's show. Today's show is part two of a show that I did about a week or so ago called Collective Trauma. Collective trauma is a mindset where people have their own trauma, their own luggage going into life today, and then now have to deal with the trauma and the chaos that's happening that we see every day in our life because of this administration and just basically because of life in general. So what I said during that show was how to identify it, how to recognize it, and how to understand where it is in your head. But I also said during that show that we are now going to discuss during this show, part two, collective healing, where we can talk about a little bit how we get out of that situation with trauma. Today's guest is a psychology major and a mediation expert, also a dear friend of mine, Miss Nancy Geld. Hello, Miss Nancy.
Hi, Bill.
So, Nance, I think we face a lot when it comes to collective trauma, and I think we face a lot when it comes to collective healing. And I think collective healing is so important because people need to understand, feel, believe that there is a healing that could actually take place, right? So, if you look at, and I want to be careful with what I say here, but if you look at Tuesday night, that's a little bit of a healing moment, right? But absolutely not a cure-all for everything, right? That's just a shot in the arm that we got, which we desperately needed so badly. But there's a lot more to do. So from a psychological perspective, and definitely from a mediation perspective, where do you see us applying our efforts, our thoughts, our actions to kind of help heal this collective trauma? If that made any sense.
I think I know what you're asking. I think that it's really important first to acknowledge how much trauma we've had and to identify it as trauma. It's not just anger. It's not just outrage. It's those things, but it's not just those things. It is the same thing that happens to someone who's in an abusive relationship.
Right.
We've all been in an abusive relationship with this administration and its members during this current administration, during the previous one, and for the last 10 years. And it consists of abuse in the form of lies, of name calling, of blaming. And we are stuck having to respond inwardly because most of us don't have a platform from which to respond to set the record straight. And so we feel as if we've been dealt unending blows and we've been shut in a closet by our abusive parent and not allowed to respond. If you respond, we come after you. It's outrageous abuse, and it's been going on for all these years. And the tough part is that most of us, if you're a human in the United States of America in 2025, you've suffered trauma. Unless we're a newborn baby, and we can talk about the trauma of birth some other day, you have had any kind of trauma in your life, and many of us, I think far more Americans than most Americans want to acknowledge, have been abused as children, as spouses, and we are reacting to the current and last decade of trauma inflicted upon us in public discourse with a similar reaction, and you can feel it right here. And what happened on Tuesday, to come back to that question, was the same kind of feeling you would have if you finally packed up your bags and got the hell out of that house before your angry, drunken husband came home. It's that.
That's right.
And it's hooray. It's yes. It's we win, we're awesome. See, I told you we're the good guys. The problem is in the next few days, we're going to either have to choose the road that we don't quite know or the road to the homeless shelter where the abusive husband may find us again.
Right.
And the only thing I can think to do is to keep that feeling of a united front, of joy, of love that's very similar to what we had 1 year and 3 days ago with Kamala, that joy, the dancing, the laughter, the coconut tree. The only way to keep it is what we did then and what we did on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. And that is to love each other. And it sounds really pie in the sky and it
No,
sounds
I
very,
don't think so. Yeah.
but why did these Democrats win all across the board? It's because they offered solutions, they offered acknowledgement of trauma, they saw the problems, they identified them out loud. And that's the beginning of healing, is to identify what the trauma is.
But Nance, let me ask you a question. Which is, I love your analogy about going to find the abusive husband finding you in the homeless shelter versus staying happy and doing and fighting. Perfect analogy. But why is it so many times that pain and trauma is so easier to accept than fighting for change?
Because we're conditioned to be in fear.
That's right.
Fear, there's only two emotions that humans have, love and fear. If it's not love, it's fear. If it's nothing that can fall under the the heading of love, it's fear. And we're conditioned to it.
Mm-hmm.
You just wait till your father gets home.
Right.
It's
Heard
one
that a
of the
lot.
things we've heard, or I'll give you something to cry about.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're grown-ups, if we haven't healed from that somehow, and who has? It takes an extraordinarily strong person to have healed from those things if you never recognized them as trauma and went 4 years of therapy.
Yeah.
You don't just magically emerge from it like a butterfly from a chrysalis. You have to work at it. And most of us haven't because we haven't known to.
I go back to my own personal life, being in recovery for 31 years now. I was admitting to my alcoholism 5 years before I came to the rooms. And it was the same thing. I was telling people publicly that I know I'm an alcoholic. And I used to use the sentence that one day I will need to pay the piper. One day. But the fear of paying the piper was far more terrifying than the comfortability of staying as a drunk. Until
Familiarity.
Yeah,
right?
until one day that equation flip-flopped, where it became too much painful to be a drunk than it would be to deal with it. So again, there's so many people out there that really want this dance. I saw so much happiness on Wednesday morning. And what concerns me is that people are going to start, like you said, in the next few days, it's going to start to, which way am I going? Which way am I going? But there's a cost to that. Because if you go back to the comfortability side of things, then everything that's critical, important below that starts to fall by the wayside. Instead of riding that train and keeping the momentum strong so that maybe in a couple of weeks something else happens that you get another shot in your arm. and then you keep it going again, and you get another shot in the arm, and so on and so forth until you're actually able to claim complete and total victory, which we'll never get anyway, from a mental health perspective. But what are some of the things that we could start sharing with people to just to focus on? Because I still think, and you know me, I'm a big advocate of this. This whole doom and gloom and doom scrolling nonsense that's out there. That's that comfortability that you speak about, at least in my opinion, because everybody's just used to it by now. They're used to the belt across the back, the belt across the butt, the slap in the face. That's what everybody's used to. So the doom and gloom is comforting. They don't know any better. But how do we get them to realize that there's really something different on the other side of the equation? What can we do? What can I do to start to do that?
Well, the first thing I think that we need to do is to not be so cynical. It's built into American culture to be cynical, right? Like, show me, prove it to me.
Right.
And okay, that works as long as you can look at something and see the hope in it and not assume that what you're being shown is a trick or it's not good enough, or it's not going to solve the problem. And I'll give you an example. And we come by this honestly. It's really smart to be smart. Don't be a dupe. But also, don't block yourself off from possibilities. And here's an example. We've seen MTG do an about face in the last few weeks, right? I mean, it's nuts. We see her advocating for things that we've been yelling about for years. And we're like, where the hell have you been? And also, I don't believe you for a second, which is probably smart. I'm not sure I believe her either. But why are Democrats, let's just pin it on elected Democrats,
sure.
not jumping on board with her and making her prove her mettle and saying, all right, you say you want that stuff, then get on this train with us.
Right.
Get on the committee with us.
Brilliant point.
And do it out loud.
Right.
That's what elected Democrats can do.
Right.
Democrat, liberal, and independent voters can stop saying things out loud like, she's full of shit. She probably is. Okay. But say, and what I like, the ones that I've seen lately are, I can't believe I'm agreeing with MTG.
Yeah, Margie still agreeing. I've even said that.
What kind of world are we in that I'm agreeing with MTG? Right. Keep it to that.
Yeah.
Not, she's still a shitbag.
Right.
Doesn't add to the discourse. It's just you needing to vent. All right, vent.
Right.
But don't bring down the discourse.
Right.
Add to it. Don't detract from it.
So your message from that is stay open to all the possibilities. That's the clear message.
Be smart about what's not a possibility. MTG is not going to become a Democrat.
Right. No,
she's probably in it for herself. She sees the writing on the wall. She clearly wanted to run for Senate, and Trump said, no, you can't. So she's saying, well, then scorched earth, bud. All right. So can we bring her over to the Democrat side? Probably not. But that is an opportunity for a coalition there somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like she did with, what's his name? With the Epstein.
Ro Khanna.
Women, right.
Tom yeah.
Yeah. She wants to be a hero. And this is something I keep thinking somebody needs to say to Trump. You would be a total hero. People would love you if you would tell your people to open this government right now. Everything would be saved.
Been screaming.
He keeps
been screaming. Yeah.
He maybe hints at it, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But, also we, I think that we have lost the ability to have faith in people. We are only seeing, we say, oh, the old Dems, oh, the ones who take APAC money,
Right,
oh,
right, right.
instead of saying, all right, Dems, if you're going to take that money, we still want to see what you can do for us, and not your shitheads for taking that money. It's just don't, as an abused person, which you are, inflict more abuse.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. And if most of us are reasonable, intelligent people, really, if we're walking down the street, we know what it is to speak hatefully and what it is to speak hopefully. You just have to make a choice. Add to the discourse, don't detract from it. That's my only advice. And I understand how it feels to be an angry person.
Hmm.
I understand how it feels to be bitter. I understand how it feels to be Charlie Brown when Lucy has whisked away that football over and over. I understand. But what did Charlie Brown do? He never walked up to Lucy and said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And so it's a choice it's a choice about what comes out of your mouth or from your fingers.
Fingers. But
Hope I answered your question.
it sounds like we are all very, to a degree, cynical. And is cynicism a side effect of trauma?
Sure. Of course it is. I don't believe it's ever really going to get better. And it's victimhood. That's what
Right,
cynicism is from. It's
right.
from victimhood. I don't have the power to get out of this situation, so I might as well,
Just cope.
well,
Well,
and
not really
blame.
cope, but yeah,
And
yeah.
blame.
And blame, yeah, exactly.
Right. But can we talk about the difference between being a cynic and being a critic?
Sure.
Cynicism is bitterness. It's hopelessness.
It's
It's not
deep distrust. It's deep
it's
distrust. That's, yeah,
distrust. Right.
yeah.
Criticism is, let's look at this like smart people. Let's analyze it. Let's say what we could suspect about that person's motives or why the person did that or this, or whether that action was what we think it was. Let's discuss it instead of this knee-jerk response, which you and I have spoken about
Right.
before. We're
So
conditioned to have those knee-jerk responses because that's what you do when you're fearful.
how how damaging is this social media empire to all of this? Were we less cynical without Twitter and X and Facebook and MySpace and YouTube? Or has these social media giants fueled that cynicism?
I can't answer that, Bill. All I know is that these platforms give us a public
Platform for it.
to
Yeah,
be sick, whether we
right.
were or weren't before.
Well, that's
But
true.
fear feeds upon fear, right? If you
Mhm.
already are a little bit worried and have a tendency to be, frightened, and then
Right.
you see somebody else reacting in fear, which is what anger is, you suddenly have a bubble of people who are all reacting in fear, which is with ugly language or abusive language. And that's when you start seeing people abusing people on their own side.
So, what do you tell the person like me um, on how to condition themselves to avoid it. Like my personal problem is that I got to make sure I get this right. I type faster than I think, or I think faster than I type. I'm not sure, but I think you know what I mean, right?
Right.
Um,
Think about it
and
before you hit send.
right, but you know, I'm just not the type of person that will write down on a piece of paper a post, analyze it, read it, cherry pick it, and then type it in and post. Just not me. It's just
If
not
you
me.
do that, I mean, type out your post, look
Right.
at it, read it, come back to it in a minute.
Yeah.
You still want to send it, send it.
Yeah.
And then
It's
be
it's a
prepared for
discipline. I think
whatever. Yeah, it is.
it's a new discipline that I think people, not just myself, but I think a lot of people need to understand because at the end of the day, if the discipline is developed, you know, just purely from a social media perspective, I think you'll be much better off, right? Because you're actually now, instead of, you know, towing the line or just following the crowd and stuff like that, you're actually making a true statement that's either contradictory or very different or offering a different set of opinions than what most people are thinking. You know, and
And
that's
you're
an interesting.
talking about social media.
We're
Yeah.
talking about social media. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Well, I think one thing that we have lost sight of, and it's funny because we're old, right? We remember when there wasn't such a thing as
yeah.
this.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
But I think that one thing we've lost sight of is the fact that, and it's a fact, that social media is not real.
Hmm.
It's not the real world. We can say whatever we want on social media and then go away and never answer for it again. You know, it's like ghosting. It gives you the most power that you can ever have. You can say whatever the hell you want and then not be there to answer for what you said.
Yeah, but
And
not to cut you off on that, but yes, I think there are a lot of social media influencers who do that. I'm guilty of it to a degree, but I don't want to be that social media influence like that. But that's
well,
just
the
that.
only way I can think to tell you to not be that way is to
Yeah.
just be the same way online as you are in reality. And the
Yes.
way to
Yes.
do
Yes.
that
Yes.
is you ask yourself,
Would I say this if I
I
was
say
outside?
this to a person in real life?
Yes.
If I
Yes. Yes.
met them on
So
the,
it's
would I say this?
and I can tell you with 99% confidence that everything I post I would say to a person to their face. I, I,
Well,
I I can't
that's,
imagine
I'm
ever
glad.
posting some yeah, I can't imagine ever posting something that I would be embarrassed that somebody read in the public and say, "Did you really type that?" Yeah, I did, motherfucker. I really did. Yeah. So, but I can't get like that. But I get your point because that's a very valid point. Because if you can't say it in if you can't say it publicly to somebody in their face and you're hiding behind the screen to say it, that's a problem. I agree with that.
Also, why are we online saying these things? Why aren't we having great big conferences and forums where we say it to ourselves, to each other in person? And part of that is you keep referring to people as influencers,
Mm-hmm.
like
That's the buzz.
that's a real job.
Okay.
And it isn't. It's completely artificial. You are making a persona that you
Mm-hmm.
present to the world on social media. I mean, how many people do you know come on and every morning they write a poem?
Mm-hmm.
Do they walk through the grocery store when they go and speak in poems to the people that they meet? I don't think so.
I would hope not.
That's you're on social media as a persona. It's not your whole you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. It's both things at once. It's necessary and hard to be more authentic
Right.
online because why? Because we're afraid to be our authentic selves. We go around with masks on every day.
Yeah.
I'm wearing one right now because of
Hmm.
this flare in front of me.
Hmm.
But people people are conditioned to show the best version of themselves in public. And then when they turn off the screen, they might cry or rage or verbally abuse their spouse or drink or whatever it is they do that they don't want people to know about. And you can't be your whole entire self online. So, my suggestion would be if what you want to present is your best self, you know, the one who makes a cookbook worthy appearing dinner every day and posts it online. If you want to actually be as good as that, then be it all the time.
Right, exactly.
And I think people get on social media and for God's sake, we're just also really lonely.
Right. I believe that.
And that's where we find our people. And I just want to say, what's wrong with put up a sign in your front yard or in your front window and say, everybody who wants to talk about what the Democrats should do, come, bring a drink and come sit with me on my porch every day at 6. We don't do that, but why not? Why don't we?
That's a great question.
Why not?
In the last 5 minutes that we have left, my dear, this was a fantastic conversation. But can you summarize top one, top two, top three things? I think you've done that already during the show, but can you just summarize and bullet point top three things people should be looking at to do to deal with collective trauma?
I have a favorite story. When I was working as a mediator, I had all sorts of traumatized people in
Hmm.
my, and a lot of times conflict arises from trauma uh, because people are speaking two different languages when one of them or both of them are traumatized. They couch what they say differently. And I used to tell this story, and I used to tell it to my kids too when I was growing up. And it's a little preachy, but I think it's really helpful. You may have heard it before. And it's the story about the man in New York City who got onto the subway at 11:30 at night with his two or three children, and there was nobody else but this other guy on the subway car. And the kids were completely out of control and crawling all over the seats and swinging from the handles and, doing tricks on the bars and running past this man and ruffling his paper that he was reading and causing all sorts of commotion. And the guy sitting there quietly thought, why do they have to get on my car? What is wrong with them? Why doesn't their father discipline them? He's just sitting there doing nothing. He's just being the worst, most terrible parent I've ever seen. Can't he see that they are really bothering me sitting here? And then they get to a stop, and the dad gathers up his children and starts to usher them out the doors and turns to the guy and says, I hope you have a good night. I apologize for the behavior of my children. We've been in the hospital all day and their mother just died.
Mm.
Just remember that people are always going through something, whether you know about it or not. And if you were going through something, wouldn't you want others to treat you a certain way?
Right.
Treat everybody that way all the time.
Yep. Totally agree.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Nope.
And if you are a person who thinks it's too much effort for me to be kind and nice all the time, then I would recommend a good therapist.
Yes.
That's a you thing. And
Definitely.
it's not about blame. It's not about whose fault it is. What good does that do? But it is about responsibility. And there's nothing hard about being kind. I don't care what you've gone through. There's nothing hard about it.
It's amazing how simple it is to be kind. And in my opinion, it is inexcusable for people not to be kind multiple times during a day. Just saying hello to somebody, a stranger, goes miles. And it bothers me that people consider that a sign of weakness, or why do they care? They don't care about me, this kind of stuff. It's just insane. You're right. It's about you. It really is about you. You can't
And we're
do whatever.
attached to our anger. How many people
Yeah.
have you seen who have said, I don't care
Yeah.
when MAGA comes back and realizes how duped they've been and they beg us to help them. I'm not going to help them. I don't feel sorry for them. They should have known. They made their choice. They made their bed. Now they can freaking lie in it.
Right.
Really? Does that make you feel good about the person that you are?
Right.
Is it all about revenge for you? What is that saying about
About
you?
you. Yeah. Yeah. Very
That's
fair.
that's the question we need
That's a
to
fair
start
point.
asking ourselves. Why do I behave the way I do? Not why do
Right.
you, but why do I?
Yeah. Now I know why they call you the goat.
I called myself that. It was totally an ego trip.
Okay. Nancy, thank you so very much to all the viewers out there. I really hope you enjoyed today's show. This will be out in about an hour. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.